Greetings, book lovers everywhere. I'm E-Train, welcome to E-Train Talks. And if you're here looking for a conservationist, a kindness advocate, and someone who really cares deeply about our planet, you've come to the right place. I'm a 12-year-old literacy and kindness advocate, podcast host, and interviewer. But enough about me. Today I am so thrilled to welcome the first guest of my Care for Our Watersheds podcast series, the one and only creator of the Friends with Fins YouTube channel and the author of 3 wonderful children's books. Well, without further ado, I've got to welcome marine conservationist and activist, not to mention a huge inspiration, the amazing Jaclyn Friedlander. Am I pronouncing that right?
You are. Thank you so much,
Right.
E-Train. It's nice to talk with you.
It's nice to talk with you as well, and after watching a lot of your Friends with Fins videos, I know you're certainly an expert when it comes to conservationism and protecting our planet. So, to start off, can you share a little bit about yourself, how you got into the field, and just something we should know about you?
Sure. My background is in acting and TV hosting. I sell toys and electronics on Home Shopping Network, and then I host the Friends with Fins Marine Science series on YouTube. And ocean conservation is something I've always been passionate about. When I was little, I lived in Illinois for a while, and I used to go to the Shed Aquarium, and I would stand with my nose pressed up against the glass and watch the divers like feeding the fish and cleaning the tanks. And I was like, someday I want to be in that tank doing that. So that was a dream and a goal that I've been able to fulfill through doing Friends with Fins. And that was sort of how I got started, was volunteering at an aquarium and seeing a need for content and helping clean up the beach. And yeah.
Well, it's so awesome that you're using your platform as a TV host to spread awareness for saving our oceans and marine life, because using your platform for something like this is beyond important, and it really inspires others, kids and adults like me, to really make a difference. So you're doing an amazing thing with your project. And more about the Watershed project, I'm just curious if you could tell us what exactly is a watershed and how can kids and adults kind of be the change and help save our watersheds and marine life?
That is a great question. So there are different kinds of watersheds. Are you talking more about like rivers and streams, and are you talking about oceans, or just all watersheds and water life in general?
Like rivers and streams, because it's kind of a little bit like maybe for people who are like want to help their local watersheds.
That's a great place to start. So rivers and streams are super important because they're home to incredible ecosystems that you don't even know are there. And I had featured on Friends with Fins a guy who on his way to work saw a local river that just had pollution and trash all the way along. So every day he took a garbage bag with him and he filled up one garbage bag. He started at one end and moved all the way down. And by the time he got to the far end, coot, which is a type of bird, had built a nest in the area that he had started with in his cleaning process. So that's something very easy you can do. He just got a grabber so he didn't have to touch other people's garbage on his own. And he went out every day and just picked up a couple of pieces until the area was cleaned. So you can get together with friends and family and do that on your own. You can find conservation organizations in your area and start volunteering. And then obviously you can do things on your end to prevent garbage from ending up there, like putting your trash where it goes, sorting your recycling, all of those things.
Well, now you have the tools, everybody. You no longer have any excuses for not making a difference. And for people who want to kind of be more national or international and make a really big difference, what are some organizations you can recommend?
I volunteer a lot out in California with an organization called Heal the Bay. There are huge organizations like 4 Oceans. There is Oceana, which is a really big international organization. And if you just look online, you can look up if there are like local organizations close to where you live, or you can look for some of the big ones that I just mentioned.
And I'll put all these links in the chat, everybody, in the comments and also in the description. So you can find them and you can start your own volunteer work like Jaclyn's doing. And so my next question is, Well, I've watched several of your videos. Well, not just several, quite a few with my family, and we all loved them.
Thank
And
you.
you work with so many types of marine life and have met so many interesting people. Your videos are informative, sweet, and just really inspiring. They really make the world a kinder place because you're inspiring and you're also doing something to make a difference. Because words, they can inspire people, but you also have to go out there and change, maybe not the world, but just your watershed. So, will you share with our listeners one story that holds a special place in your heart, one journey or one destination that you've been to along your journey that's really stuck with you?
Yeah, absolutely. One that sort of stands out to me from a watershed perspective is the Save Crystal River project.
Oh, I saw that.
And I was invited by them to come and sort of feature all the work that they were doing. And it was a group of people in the community who realized that the manatee population had sort of gone away. And there was all sorts of what's called lyngbia, which is this invasive algae that sort of suffocates everything else. So they started this multi-million-dollar project to scrape all the lyngbia out and then plant what's called eelgrass. And then eelgrass sort of spreads, and that's food for the manatees. So then the manatees come back. So then the ecosystem starts to get repaired. And they've made it a community-wide project. They've gotten local schools involved. They invited me to come do an author visit and conservation talk there. So that was it was like a week-long trip for me. And it was really inspiring to see, like you mentioned, not just talking about helping the planet and not just talking about conservation, but actually banding together as a community. So it's community engagement, but also action that will make the world a better place.
Certainly. And I saw that I actually watched your video about that project, and they said that sometime in 2023, the whole kind of ecosystem, all the eelgrass will be there and just spread it all around, and the ecosystem will kind of be saved. And that's going to be this year, so that's extremely exciting. And hopefully they'll be posting about it because I want to follow their journey and see just how much they've really done. So
Yes.
where can we find them?
For sure. They are at savecrystalriver.org or .com. I'm not sure. I don't remember offhand, but I'm sure we can find the link and put it for your viewers.
All right, so one of the reasons I'm doing this project is to try and inspire others to help make our world a better place. And I'm hoping that talking to activists and kindness heroes will help spread the word and spread awareness for our watersheds, marine life, and all our friends that are getting affected by like climate change, but also smaller things in our own communities and ecosystems. So, can you share some advice for tweens or teens like me who want to change the world, be change makers, and help our environment, whether it's watersheds or picking up trash or so much more? What can we do? How can we volunteer our time and really spread the word or make a difference?
That's a great question. And I think what you're doing is wonderful. So spreading the word is a great place to start. When you find organizations, get groups of people together to do cleanups and things like that. And also you can do little things at home. Like you can shut off the water while you're brushing your teeth, because if you just let it run, it wastes gallons and gallons of water. Food waste is a really big problem sort of overall for climate change. So just do your best to buy what you're going to eat. And if something is sort of on the chopping block, either freeze it or give it away, or sort of keep some of that food out of the landfills. Balloons are a huge one. So this
Really?
is sort of this is my soapbox moment. Balloons are like one of the worst things for the planet for multiple reasons. Number one, we're running out of helium. So Mylar balloons, filling them with helium is terrible. Balloons are one of the main things that ocean creatures choke on, because once they float away, they eventually have to land somewhere. And oftentimes they'll end up in a storm drain that feeds out to a watershed. So I always say, if you can say, hey, mom and dad, for my birthday, let's do crepe paper instead of balloons. That's a really super, to me, easy like thing to cut out and forego. So I always tell people if you can do without the balloons, maybe decorate with something else, something more eco-friendly. And then one other thing is lower your carbon footprint as much as possible. So if you live in a place where it's safe to ride your bike or rollerblade or walk places, get groups of friends together and walk and ride, or even carpool. Carpooling is another great way to help the environment.
Even the little things really matter in the long run. And although, like, making your voice sound like this while, like, with the helium balloons, it's fun, but it can really hurt our planet. So maybe you can do without your voice not sounding like that for a couple seconds, and you can help the planet a little bit. So those are some amazing ideas, and they're all easy. We can really make a difference, be eco-friendly without having to stage, I guess, large cleanups, although those are amazing and super important as well. But you can really make a difference in the smallest ways.
Absolutely. Yes. Little things on the home front really go a long way. You might not see it immediately, but just know that if you're doing these little things, you really are helping.
You really are. And my next question is about your picture books, which are actually behind you right there. So, what was the kind of inspiration to create picture books about all the conservationism that you're doing? And also, what's the process like? Because I haven't really talked to too many picture book authors, especially ones that are really tackling important topics. So, what was the inspiration? What was the process?
So the inspiration was because I was volunteering at an aquarium and I felt like they could use some better, more kid-friendly, more fun, brightly colored content to keep kids engaged. And so I created an 8-minute short film that was kind of like Blue's Clues. So it was half animation, half live action. And a lot of people were watching it and were like, it would be really cool if these characters were in books and then there was a sort of companion thing and there could be continued learning. And so I wrote the first picture book and I was like, great, but I'm not really I drew I drew out one page and everyone was like, you should find an illustrator. Mm-hmm. So I started looking for illustrators and I actually was not finding what I wanted. I interviewed a lot of different people, but sort of their vision was either more realistic or more watercolors, and I wanted really fun, bright, poppy. And then I was at a family event and a cousin was 13 at the time and was like, well, I draw really great SpongeBob pictures. And I was like, let me see your art. And his art was actually far beyond a lot of the adults I had been talking with. So I asked him if he wanted to be the illustrator for the first book. So he did that. And that was really great. And then he did the second book. And then by the time the third book was done, he had moved on to high school and he didn't have time. So I teamed up with an animator friend, actually the person who had animated the original Friends with Fins had time, and so he illustrated the third one. So there was sort of a lot involved between the actual writing and then the getting the illustrations, putting it all together and publishing it. And the other thing that was really important to me was that the characters were fun and the stories were fun, but that there were fun facts in the back. So in the back of each of the books, there are actually fun facts about each of the characters, so teachers can use them as a learning tool as well as a fun story for read aloud.
Well, that's all, everybody. Well, actually, no, that's not all, because you now have the tools to make a difference in your communities and maybe in the world. Thanks to Jaclyn Friedlander, the creator of Friends with Fins. You can check out our YouTube channel. The link is in the description. You'll discover a lot of new things, and you're going to see her actor stuff as well. And all that she does. She is an inspiration for me and for so many out there, and now she's an inspiration for you. So go to all the websites in the description and you can discover how you can volunteer and really change the world. Because even though it feels like you're only doing a little thing, a little goes a long way, whether it's kindness or it's kind of saving our watersheds. So thank you so much for joining me, Jack, and it's been an honor.
Thank you for having me. This is really fun.
It really has been. And keep on reading, keep on changing the world, everybody. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.